Modern day smartphones can be an amazing tool to get work done and help us connect with the most important people in our lives. But it also comes with a dark side. With billion-dollar companies developing algorithms designed to keep us on their platforms for as long as possible, smartphone use has skyrocketed. According to recent data, people are now spending 4.8 hours a day on their phones. Extrapolating that number over a lifetime, and that's like spending 20 years of your life looking down into a glass rectangle. That's being on your phone 24/7, 365 for 20 full years. And as much as I'd like to be optimistic about the future, in all reality, it's likely to get much worse. With even more immersive technologies on the horizon in the form of AR and VR, it's possible that in the future, we spend even more of our waking lives plugged into a device strapped to our faces. Taking a look at the world now, it seems like people are more disconnected than ever. People are getting less things done, and people are reporting record levels of anxiety, depression, and an overall dissatisfaction in life. So the real question to ask here is, are we the ones using technology, or is technology using us? So I've had a love-hate relationship with technology for a long time. As early as I can remember, I've always loved technology. Computers, gadgets, and video games are things that I've spent a lot of time with growing up. But as I started to get older, I found myself using technology in a way that wasn't conducive to my goals. Instead of being a tool for productivity and improving my life, I would use technology as a form of escape. I would instinctively pick up a device every time that I felt bored, and as games became more addictive and algorithms more sophisticated, the time I spent on these devices got out of hand. And as somebody who runs an online business and a YouTube channel, it's not like I can just throw away all my devices into the trash and live in a cabin off the grid. I still need these devices to do work and to make money. Over the last few years, I've tried a lot of things to try to lower my screen time. I've tried the website blockers and the apps that block other apps, but I found that they were just way too easy to bypass. What did end up working for me was intentionally setting up my phone in a way that encourages me to be productive instead of the other way around. And I'm going to show that to you now. Okay, so here's my phone. Before I get into all the apps that are on here, I want to talk about this top section because that's really the key to this whole thing. These are Siri shortcuts, and I've set them up in a way to quickly change between focus modes. If you're using an iPhone and you're not using focus modes, I'd highly recommend checking them out. Basically what it is a way to change the way your phone looks and behaves while you're doing different tasks or activities. The ones I have set up right now are work, fitness, drive, chill, and sleep. A big part of productivity is mindset. And having my phone and devices set up in this way really helps reinforce the idea of what mode my brain should be in at any given time. The worst thing that happens to my productivity is not being fully committed to a certain mode. For example, there are times when I'm trying to do work and I'm kind of in this half work / half chill type state where I have a window open up for work, but I also have like another Safari window watching YouTube on the side. What ends up happening for me is that I get the worst of both worlds, where I don't get much work done and I don't feel really relaxed at the end of it. After trial and error, I found that I'm so much more productive and happy if I can fully immerse myself into work for a full hour and then afterwards chill for a full hour. For me, it's so much more productive to do that than to spend 2 hours in this half work, half chill state. So if you look at my work focus here, you can see that there's not that much going on. This widget here is an app called Things, and it's my to-do list app of choice. One of my favorite features of Things is to be able to easily reorganize tasks and to push things into the evening whenever I need to. Also, it's really nice looking and well designed, which I always appreciate. And as you can see here, I have the Etsy and Shopify apps, which are the only two apps that can send me notifications in this mode. The main thing that I'm going for here is that I want it to be obvious for my brain to know what I should be doing every time I pick up my phone. And I think this screen achieves that. Next up is the fitness screen, and it's color-coded green because that's the color that I think of when I think of fitness. I have the fitness widget here that shows my activity for the day, which is kind of low right now, but don't judge me. I'm filming a video here. I'll fill up those rings later. And for apps, the first one here is Strong, which is what I use to track my weight training. I like that it saves all the exercises that I do in a given workout and the number of reps and weights that I last did. That way I can slowly add more weight or reps over time to progressively overload my muscles, which according to Jeff Nippard on YouTube is how you get jacked, which is what I'm going for. So we'll see if I can get to that point. But yeah, next here is Apple Health, which I use to track my body weight and my sleep. And after that is just Spotify because you can't work out without good music. Next is my driving focus, which is pretty self-explanatory. I have Apple Maps and Google Maps for directions. and Spotify for music, and this widget here is Overcast, which is my podcast app of choice. The podcasts that I'm listening most to right now are Cortex, The Tim Ferriss Show, and The Colin and Samir Show. If you know of any podcasts that you personally like that you think I would too, let me know down in the comments because I'm always looking for new podcasts to try out. Next up is what I call my chill focus mode, which is just having all my other focus modes turned off. So this is what my phone looks like in its default state. The first widget here is Carrot Weather. This is an app that I really like for weather just because of how customizable it is. One of the things that I really care about right now is daily precipitation. I've been really into lawn care lately, and knowing how much rain is coming over the next few days at a glance is like just really game changing. Of course, living in Canada, it's not always accurate, but it's still good to see regardless. The second widget here is Duolingo, which as you can see, I'm a proud owner of a 277-day streak. I'm learning Japanese right now with the hopes that someday I'll be able to watch a Shinkai movie without subtitles, so we'll see if that can happen. But yeah, next up are just the regular apps, photos, camera, and messages. Eufy Life here is an app that syncs with my smart scale and it exports the data into Apple Health so I don't have to do that manually. And the last focus mode here is one that you don't see on the controller because it actually turns on automatically, and that's sleep. This mode just takes away all the apps on my home screens, changes the wallpaper black, and turns off all notifications. I have this mode set to turn on every night at 9 because I like to be in bed by 10. I may not look like it, but I'm getting old. And I like to sleep early so I can wake up early. I have 2 young kids at home, and having mornings to myself before everyone wakes up is something that I've really grown to enjoy. One of the best things that you can do for your productivity and your life in general is to get enough sleep. It's the norm to have an alarm to wake yourself up in the morning, but I feel like it's so much healthier to have an alarm to tell yourself to go to sleep. When I sleep at the right time, I can let my body wake up naturally without an alarm. And it's just so much more pleasant to wake up that way than to be jarred awake by the sound or rumble of an alarm clock. Last but not least is the dock, and I was really intentional with the types of apps that I wanted to put here. The first one is my to-do app, which is Things, which we talked about earlier. The second one is just Apple Calendars, and the last one is Obsidian. If you're not familiar with Obsidian, it's a note-taking app that I've really grown to like over the last 6 or so months that I've been using it. If you watched my videos in the past, you might know that I've previously been using Notion, which I'm slowly migrating away from. Notion has some powerful features and a really great looking interface, but there's just some things that bugged me about it over time. I don't want to get into a Notion versus Obsidian type thing because that can be a video all by itself, but I really like how bare bones and simple Obsidian is to use, and the best thing about it is that all the text files can be stored on your own device or your own server, so it's private, where you can't really say that about Notion. But yeah, you'll notice that there's not really any consumption apps on any of my home screens, and that's an intentional choice. There's no social media, no games, and no entertainment, and that's because I really want to keep my phone as an input device, not a consumption device. I can still open up a website or Instagram if I want to. I just have to search for it manually using Spotlight, and I find that just that little bit of friction stops me from using it so much. Like James Clear said in his book Atomic Habits, even adding the smallest amount of friction to a behavior can help you break a bad habit. If you've given some thought onto how you organize your phone and you're willing to share, please send me screenshots. It's actually something that I'm weirdly interested in, how people set up their phones. If you want to share it, the best place is probably to tweet it at me. I am on Twitter now. I've been trying to use it a little bit more. But yeah, if you're interested, I'll link it down below. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.